Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Jeffrey Epstein Show. I'm your host, Bobbycapucci, and this is our morning update. So the news has been insane, right, the last couple of days, and the cherry on top was Virginia Roberts' interview yesterday. Well, she was everything that Prince Andrew wasn't. I have watched the clip fully now. It is just, it's mind-boggling to think that anybody could believe that she is lying at this point. All signs point to truth. All right? And that's exactly what we have going on here. A lot of truth from Virginia Roberts in face of Prince Andrew's lying, BS, and nonsense. So what we're left with is the image of Virginia Roberts standing tall and basically putting this whole entire case on her shoulders and saying to the establishment with both middle fingers raised in the air, F you. And let me tell you what, from somebody who feels the same way about the establishment, I don't care Republican or Democrat, I commend her for her bravery, because this woman she is telling all of these high-profile, high-powered people where to shove it, that she does not give one good goddamn about the repercussions at this point. And you're all being put on blast. You are all being put on blast. And what's funny to me is, why would Donald Trump say that he doesn't know Prince Andrew when they've had breakfast, they've met? It's just, it makes it harder for you, Mr. Trump. Stop putting your foot in your mouth. Just say, hey, look, I met him in my official duties. We've met a couple times at parties. It doesn't mean that you're involved in what he's got going on. It doesn't mean you're an intimate friend. Trump makes his life a lot harder sometimes than it has to be, in my opinion. So I don't even understand why he would say that. So we'll have to get some more clarification and see what he means by that, because we all know he's not the greatest orator in the history of the world. But there's like 4 or 5 articles right now with that as the headline, and then only like a paragraph blurb about it, and then they go into the Epstein case. So bunch of clickbait. What they're saying is that Donald Trump knows Prince Andrew, but okay, that's great, we get it. So Donald Trump is telling more fibs? Oh, what else is new? The sun is hot? I mean, come on. Look, everybody knows the guy's not a good person, right? I'll never sit here and defend the man morally, because he's certainly not a moral person to defend. But at the same time, I'm going to need more evidence, right? I'm going to need more proof. I'm not going to need some headlines. I'm not going to need Donald Trump was hanging out with Andrew in an official capacity. All right, well, I get it. Why would he say he doesn't know him? It's stupid as hell. But at the same time, we follow the evidence on this podcast. And still, like I've said a million times, I've pleaded with people, if you have evidence that Donald Trump is involved with Jeffrey Epstein and what he did, please send it over so we can curate it, and we can vet it, and we can source it, because I have looked high and low. And even in the Newsweek piece that that their headline is Donald Trump says he doesn't know Prince Andrew, but blah blah blah. In that piece itself, it says there's no evidence or allegations that Donald Trump was involved with Jeffrey Epstein, and that's from Newsweek. All right, so I wasn't going to read a whole entire article where only the first paragraph deals with the subject headline. So, like I said, with Donald Trump, I really don't care if that man is involved in this Epstein case. I want him to burn just like everybody else. I'm scorched earth with this whole entire thing, folks. When I tell you I don't care about politics in this situation, I truly do not care about politics. I could care less who is caught up in this. If you are involved, you need to face justice. All right, if you would like to contact me, you could do that at bobbycapucci@protonmail.com. That's BOBBYCAPUCCI@protonmail.com. All right, so we have a few articles this morning. The first one is from The Guardian, and its headline is, Prince Andrew and Ghislaine Maxwell owe it to their accusers to appear in court. Where is Ghislaine Maxwell? In the scandal engulfing her good friend, the Duke of York, she is both everywhere and nowhere, forever hovering just out of reach, rather, as she does in that notorious photograph of the prince with his arm around the bare midriff of a girl little older than his daughter. There have been a few sightings, one supposedly in a Los Angeles food restaurant. Yet, for now, She remains in hiding, and with her lies the truth. And truer words have not spoken there, right? We're not going to get thrown off the scent here, folks. We're not going to get knocked off the scent by salacious headlines. We're not going to get knocked off the scent by them throwing other people in. Let's focus on the people who need to be captured first, okay? Why don't we go after Ghislaine Maxwell? All of those salacious headlines that we're seeing today should all be about Ghislaine Maxwell. But no. Here's the thing. Like I said, the press has no interest in furthering the case. The press has no interest in protecting the victims. All the press is interested in is gotcha moments politically. And I'm not going to be involved in any of that. Sorry. The former girlfriend of pedophile Jeffrey Epstein may be the only living person who knows what happened, not just on the night that photograph was taken, when Virginia Roberts says she was compelled to have sex with the Queen's second son, but on so many other nights when, as she said on Monday night's Panorama, she was passed around like a platter of fruit between Epstein's friends. Think about that, folks. A young lady saying she was passed around like a platter of fruit between Epstein's friends. Sick. Sick, sick, sick. There has rightly been outrage at Prince Andrew's failure to drop Epstein once he was convicted of sex offenses. But given Maxwell also stands accused by a number of women in civil actions of being complicit with her boyfriend in sex trafficking and abuse, it is just as astonishing that the prince was in touch with her as recently as this year. I'm glad everybody else is jumping on board with this. I've been saying this for how many months now? How many months have I been saying this? If, as he insists, they didn't discuss Epstein when it is frankly hard to know why not. Are we to believe he was simply too polite to mention the allegation that his friends had been running sex trafficking rings right under his nose? Maxwell has been curiously under-examined part of this story. Panorama included old footage from a photo shoot in which he was seen laughing and asking how her hair looked. This was Maxwell the socialite, the billionaire's daughter, the magazine cover girl. But in their affidavits and in front of cameras, Epstein's victims described someone else entirely. They recall a bully with a viciousness to her, in Robert's words, who made sure Epstein got what he wanted, a woman they feared and had accused not merely of turning a blind eye to his predation, but in some cases of being an active participant. And we've heard that, right? And this isn't just girls running off at the lip saying, oh yeah, this is court affidavits. These girls they're on record talking about this. And the last article I'm going to read today is going to button all of this up nicely for you. And it's going to let you know what's really going on in this case. And it's not just me saying this. It's not just, some wild-eyed idea I popped up with. This is a well-researched point filled with evidence. By now, we are almost numb to stories of powerful old men or women doing terrible things to much younger women. But there is something dreadful about the idea of a woman, someone a younger girl might look to for rescue and protection, being in any way complicit in abuse. Roberts told Panorama she felt sick when she was told to sleep with the prince because she hadn't expected such behavior from royalty. But what made her cry was describing Maxwell praising her later for doing a good job. Can you imagine? Imagine this, right? You just got sexually abused by the Prince of England. And then this lady who you look at as maybe somebody that could help you, could protect you, gives you a pat on the back and says, oh, you did a really good job by having sex with this disgusting old man. Allegedly. For Maxwell denies all this, and Prince Andrew categorically denies the allegations against him. Unless and until there is a trial, we are stuck in the unsatisfactory land of the perennial unproven. This case has made jurors of us all, given the only real point of the Panorama with little substance new to say, was to let audiences compare the respective credibility of Prince Andrew and Virginia Roberts as witnesses. Just like I said, that's exactly what this was. This was a juxtapose. This was to show that how composed she is and how much the truth she has on her side, and how Prince Andrew is a bumbling fool. He testified in his defense to Newsnight, and now Panorama has put the case for the prosecution. All that can be said with any certainty is that the prince's toe-curling claim to have been, if anything, too honorable in his dealings with Epstein look worse with every passing day. Where the prince blundered clumsily through his story, Roberts was fluent and surprisingly composed. But then, she must have told the story so many times to lawyers and journalists and FBI agents how she was abused from the age of 7, ran away from home, and was just getting her life together with a job at Donald Trump's Mar-a-Lago Beach Club when she encountered Maxwell, who suggested she train as a masseuse. So think about it. She has nothing. She has no one, no money, nothing, blah, blah, blah. She's there, has a job as a towel girl. And these people show up with all of their money and their high-profile nonsense. Just think about that for a minute. Her big mistake, she said bleakly, was to tell Epstein and his girlfriend the story of her damaged childhood. Now they knew how vulnerable I was. Panorama spliced her description of dancing with the sweaty prince together with the prince's wide-eyed claim that it was medically impossible for him to sweat, followed by archive footage of him emerging from the nightclub's damp-shirted. 5 women have testified in the U.S. that he was present when they gave massages to Epstein, despite the prince's insistence that he never saw anything untoward. Your prosecution rests, Your Honor. But the whole thing made uncomfortable watching. Why is this happening on TV, not in court? Where is the anonymity granted to victims of alleged sex offenses during a British trial? The admittedly meager dignity afforded by a legal process, the requirement for all sides to testify on oath. Without the media, these claims wouldn't have come to light at all. Yet justice should not rely on trafficking victims' willingness to speak out this publicly to remind us how catastrophically the system has failed. And let me back up there, all right? If it wasn't for the media, you mean if it wasn't for the independent media, if it wasn't for guerrilla journalists, if it wasn't for you out in the audience, the media, screw them. They've left us to swing in this case. They left Virginia Roberts to swing for years, squashed cases. And they're getting paid millions of dollars. And then there's podcasters, content creators, and you out there who's spending your own time, your own money in some cases, to bring the story to light. So don't give me any of that nonsense about the media, all right? And it is on the courts that the focus must fall. Now that Jeffrey Epstein is dead, there can be no peace for the damaged women he left behind until Ghislaine and Maxwell faces their allegations in a court and Prince Andrew testifies under oath. Only then can all of those who suffered in various ways at Epstein's hands possibly stand a chance of finally breaking free. And facts, right? They both have to stand in court. They both have to, answer the questions that are put before them, because there is no way in hell that they're going to get away with it this time. There's no way. All right. So our second article buttons everything up nicely. I haven't obviously read the article, but the headline is definitely something that a topic and something we discuss here ad nauseum. The headline is, "Come Spy With Me. Ghislaine Maxwell and Jeffrey Epstein were spies who used underage sex to blackmail politicians," ex-handler claims. Oh, so the media wants to report on this now, huh? I've only been saying this since the very beginning. It's nice to see that they, with all of their vast resources, they're finally jumping on board and finally bringing the truth to their readers. Because that's what this is, folks. This was all a blackmail scheme. That doesn't mean Jeffrey Epstein wasn't a sick pedophile. Oh, he absolutely was. But he was turned into this gigantic trafficker by his buddies in intelligence. Let's see what this article has to say. Ghislaine Maxwell and her pedophile lover Jeffrey Epstein were both Israeli spies who took pictures of powerful men having sex with underage girls to blackmail them, their alleged Mossad handler has sensationally claimed. The pair allegedly ran a honey trap operation where they would provide young girls to politicians in order to squeeze them for information for the Israelis. Okay, like I said, there's no way that the Mossad was running that operation in America without the CIA's blessing and a nod from the CIA. They believe me, the Mossad definitely runs operations in America without checking in with the CIA. There's no doubt about that. But there is no way that they could have done this without the CIA knowing. No way. The unsubstantiated claims have been made by Ari Ben Menash, who claims he is a former Israeli spy. Ben Menashe claims that he was the handler of Ghislaine's dad, Robert Maxwell, who was also a spy, and that he introduced the former newspaper baron who introduced Epstein and his daughter to the Israeli intelligence agency. There you go, folks. We've talked about this guy several times. He's an ex-Israeli military intelligence official, and look, he's coming out and he's putting this on the record. His name, the whole nine. All right? He makes the unverified claims in a new book called Epstein, Dead Men Tell No Tales. In a preview of the book shared with the Sun Online, Ben Menashe says Mr. Epstein was the simple idiot who was going around providing girls to all kinds of politicians in the United States. See, effing around is not a crime. It could be embarrassing, but it's not a crime. But effing a 14-year-old girl is a crime. And he was taking photos of politicians effing 14-year-old girls, if you want to get it straight. Wow. So we've discussed this. For those of you who are just joining the show who've never heard this stuff before, this is something that Whitney Webb from Mint Press was talking about for a very long time. This is something that people in intelligence circles have talked about. In fact, a couple of my sources have talked about this as well. Like I said, I really don't have too many sources in this whole Epstein thing, but I have sources in other areas. And these people were telling me that there seems to be legs with this man's his accusations and what he's saying. They, Epstein and Maxwell, would just blackmail people. They would just blackmail people like that. Ben Menashe is a mysterious Iranian-born Israeli businessman who claims to have worked for Mossad from 1977 to 1987. He was arrested in 1989 in the U.S. on arms dealing charges, but was acquitted in 1990 after a jury accepted he was acting on behalf of Israel. So do you need more evidence that he worked for Israel? He was arrested and then let go in the United States on arms dealing during the whole Iran-Contra affair and was let free. Does it sound familiar? Ghislaine Maxwell, Jeffrey Epstein, they all get their sweet deals because intelligence. Israel tried to distance themselves from him, with government sources saying he never had anything to do with intelligence services, although other news reports in both the U.S. and Israel confirmed he did. Of course they're going to say that, because they know what he's saying now is bad news for them. They know it's bad news for the Mossad. They know it's bad news for all of their their little honey pot traps running around. They know that if this gets blown out, this gets, the doors blown off of it and everybody knows, well, they're not going to be able to work this anymore. He later wrote a book called Prophets of War, Inside the U.S.-Israeli Arms Network, and in the early 1990s claimed that Robert Maxwell, Ghislaine's dad, worked for Mossad. Well, we've seen the evidence of that. Go back and listen to the episode, Closer Look, the Mega Group. We go into all of this. The new book takes this further and claims Maxwell may have worked for other governments too as a double or triple agent. Ben Menashe claims that despite reports Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell met in the early 1990s in New York, they actually met much earlier through the socialite's father. And that's interesting. That's an interesting claim. I haven't heard that one before, so that's pretty interesting. That's something that definitely warrants more research. He claims that Robert Maxwell introduced Epstein to Mossad and then Ghislaine got involved later. Files from the British Foreign Office released in 2003 appear to back the claim that Maxwell may have been a spy, with one report describing him as a thoroughly bad character who was being financed by Russia, and another saying his questionable activities had been brought to the attention of the foreign officer on several occasions. So there was a lot of reports that he was not only acting as an agent for the Mossad, but he was doubling as an agent for Russia as well. And we all know that there's a lot of ties between these powerful Israelis and Russia. There was a lot of Russian Jews that they wanted to bring back to Israel. So the ties run deep. While the Maxwell family have always denied such reports, family friend Laura Goldman says in the book, "My feeling is that he probably was an agent to the Russians, the Israelis, and the British. I believe that Ghislaine continued his work." Boom, bang, bunzo dunzo. Laura Goldman, a family friend, says this, all right? It's not just, some wide-eyed conspiracy theory. There are serious allegations of this being a blackmail ring. And we don't hear about that in the American press at all. The American press is way too busy with their stupid, salacious headlines that mean nothing. All right? Can we get some meat, please? Can someone really get on this story? Can somebody run with this angle? I mean, come on. It is not known whether Maxwell and Epstein gathered any intelligence about pal Prince Andrew and their alleged espionage work, although the book suggests the royal was a target. Of course he was a target. That's the whole reason he came to New York, to break up with Epstein. I've said that several times. John Dugan, who served as deputy sheriff in Palm Beach, Florida at the time Epstein was in prison for his first slew of child sex offenses, says he was given access to Epstein's case file, including videotapes, in its entirety by Palm Beach police detective Joseph Riccari, who later died unexpectedly, aged 50. Dugan managed to copy the tapes, encrypt them, and flee to Russia, where he now lives. Well, I would like to see those tapes. If this Mr. Dugan has those tapes, and we've talked about him before, I would definitely like to see them. Although he has not watched the encrypted files, he tells Epstein's Dead Men Tell No Tales that he is certain they contain blackmail material involving wealthy people and that Prince Andrew was a target. Do I think that Epstein was probably put up to getting some wealthy people to sleep with some underage women so those people could be blackmailed by Western intelligence agencies? Absolutely I do, he said. MI6 were concerned that Russia may have obtained compromising material on Prince Andrew, according to a Times report, although Dugan claims he has given no information to the Russians. So this John Dugan, we're going to do a closer look on him. I'm on the fence about him, about his claims. I really don't know where to fall when it comes to him. I think he's more credible than that Patrick Kessler clown. But as far as having access to these tapes and these documents, I really don't know if I believe that. Epstein was found dead in his New York prison cell on August 10th after allegedly committing suicide while he faced charges for sex trafficking minors. Melissa Cronin, the book's author, believes that Epstein's alleged intelligence links add weight to the theory that he did not kill himself, but he was murdered. She also points to Epstein and Maxwell's links with prominent people from the science and technology industries and believes the pair not only ran a honeypot operation, but also an information gathering operation. Well, yeah, of course. Why do you think he was funding all of these academics? And we haven't even gotten into all of that yet, folks, right? This is still just the beginning stages of our investigation. He was so ensconced with the most powerful people. Just regular billionaires don't get to do that. Before I started with the book, I was extremely skeptical of the murder theory, she told Sun Online. I'm definitely not a conspiracy theorist by nature at all, but the more that we dug into this, there's just so much incontrovertible evidence about his work in the world of espionage, his work with Mossad, and it all comes together to make a really compelling argument for the fact that he was murdered. I think one thing that is interesting and important to say is that Epstein wasn't necessarily a spy in the traditional sense. He wasn't particularly loyal to Israel per se. He was a collector of information. Exactly. He was an asset. He was being run as an asset, and he would have sold that information to anyone. So, of course, there was the blackmail aspect of what he was doing in terms of the honey trap and getting this footage of people that he could use as leverage. At the same time, something that a lot of people haven't really explored is how he cultivated these relationships within science and technology. We get really deep into that in the book, and to how he was meeting with and extracting really sensitive information from scientists and eminent theorists and things like that. That material, probably even more so than the blackmail material, is what really would be of interest to a foreign power such as Israel. Yeah, of course. We've already talked about some of the different, things they were involved in, some of the different software, some of the different computer programs. That's what they want this technology. You know how expensive this technology is? They want this technology, and that's what they're going for. Ghislaine Maxwell has previously denied any wrongdoing. Sun Online reached out to her representatives for Maxwell. Representatives for the Israeli government did not respond to requests for comment. Well, there you have it, folks. So, for anyone out there who is on the fence, they're not sure, was this a blackmail operation, an intelligence operation? The evidence is all right there for everybody to see. You just have to be willing to understand that your government is evil. Once you come to the conclusion that your government is capable of doing anything, well, then it's not hard to believe that they're involved in stuff like this. So let's keep up the pressure, folks. Let's keep it going. We're turning the predator into the prey. And that's exactly what we need to keep doing right here on this podcast and on other shows where other content creators are talking about this. We just got to keep the pressure on because it's showing results. All right, it's showing results. These aren't the old days where these powerful people can hide their crimes. Everybody has the power to do the research that they need to do right in the palm of their hand now. So there's no excuse to be ignorant of who Jeffrey Epstein is or what his case is, just like the crown princess from Norway was. If you would like to contact me, you can do that at Bobbycapucci at protonmail.com. That's BOBBYCAPUCCI at protonmail.com. If you would like to support the show, you can find the GoFundMe link in the description box. But more importantly, make sure you're sharing this with your friends and your family. Make sure you're sharing it with everybody that's interested in this story, and even those who aren't, because it's that important. This story is not just a sordid sex story like Virginia Roberts said. This is a story of the most powerful people in the world trafficking young women and abusing them. If you're not willing to stand shoulder to shoulder with Virginia Roberts at this point, then I don't even know what to say to you or say about you. Because the time for straddling the fence is over. All right? The time for straddling the fence is over. It's time to take action. It's time to demand that the authorities take action. All right, everybody, I will be back later on with the daily drop, perhaps an afternoon update as well. Hope everybody has a great day.